So, hello and welcome to what is hopefully going to be the first of a little bit of a series. I'm going to be previewing the under-23s games, joined by guests of fans of other clubs, hopefully. So, first up today, we've got John from Lily White Rose on Twitter. John, big Tottenham expert. Go on, mate. Tell us a bit about yourself, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, mate. It's a pleasure to be on your channel for the first time. And so Spurs and Lily White Rose, how did we get into it? Well, I've been a Spurs fan my whole life, grew up in North London. And Lily White Rose sort of came around between four friends that actually met up in Yorkshire. So it's funny, we're playing Leeds at the moment. Me and a good friend of mine, Dan, I was in Leeds, he was in Sheffield, met a couple of other lads from Sheffield, and we formed Lily White Rose based on the Yorkshire Rose is the Rose, Lily White, we play in Lily White. So there you go, Lily White Rose. Youth football for me, it certainly was something I've always been interested in. I lived in Enfield in North London, about 10 minutes away from the training ground at Hotspur Way. So I had an opportunity to go down, watch a lot of under 23s, under 18s games. And you just sort of build up a rapport with people down there. You get to know how the procedures work, how, day-to-day activities go on at the training ground. And it just became something I was really interested in. And I enjoyed watching youth development football in the time I've been interested in it. Obviously, Tottenham have brought through the likes of Harry Kane, who's gone on to be my favourite player of all time. But also those that maybe haven't made it at Tottenham but have made successful careers, the likes of Ryan Mason, who joined Hull City for 13 million, Andros Townsend, who went for 15 million, Stephen Corker. So we had a whole crop of players that came through at that same time. And now it's continued, really. We continue to bring players through to the first team at Tottenham. I'm really proud that we do that. Now the fans are looking at the likes of Dane Scarlett, Niall John, Alfie Devine. And hopefully we continue a conveyor belt of bringing through young and exciting talents that understand what it means to play for Tottenham and are proud to wear the badge.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I watched a few of your games and read up a lot of Tottenham. One of the standout academies in the country at the minute. I think that's fair to say. Third place finish last season in the PL2 behind only two of the very, very top academies, Man City and Chelsea. So tell us a bit about last season and going into this season, what are the expectations?
Yeah, it's funny with Tottenham. I'll be honest with you. I've been spoken to quite a lot of youth coaches there. The expectations are not always on results. It's more about player development. They don't mind playing players out of position, so they try out new things and also deliberately putting players in difficult scenarios to see how they react and deal with those situations and how they learn moving forward. And in terms of where they finish in the league, well, we're basically playing without a forward at the moment. We've loaned out Troy Parrott to Milton Keynes. We've loaned out Keon Etete to Northampton. Both have hit the ground running. Both have started scoring, which is great news. Dane Scarlett has effectively been promoted up to the first team with the situation ongoing with Harry Kane, and he started our fixture in the Europa Conference League against Pacos. So, we're basically playing a false nine or without a forward, and we've got the influential Dylan Marcandy and Janelle Bennett cutting in from either side. Last year was a great season, actually, for Tottenham at Premier League 2 level, with Wayne Burnett doing very, very well. We made a couple of astute signings in the summer. We signed Marcel Lavigne on a free from Chelsea at right back, and Toby Amole on a free from Arsenal. Now, these guys, initially, the plan was for them to come in and thus allow our existing under-23 players to go out on loan, the likes of Malachi Walcott, Djibril Ekidina. But what actually happened was they proved their own. They proved to be very, very good players. And we've now seen Djibril Ekidina leave the club on a permanent basis to join Cambridge. And Toby Amole is now training with the first team. So he's impressed highly. Marcel Lavigne also made his debut in the Europa League last year under Jose Mourinho. So it was just a great year for the under-23s last year. We saw a lot of players make their debuts. And for whatever other issues I have and many other Tottenham fans have with Jose Mourinho, whilst he was at the club last year, he actually utilised the youth very well. And I know that from speaking to youth players, parents and family, that they were impressed with him. They gave opportunities to the likes of Dane Scarlett and Alfie Devine to become our youngest ever player and youngest ever goal scorer. And they gave them a feeling of if we do well in training and if we impress in matches, we will impress the boss and we will get an opportunity. And that hasn't always been the case at Tottenham. So we saw a positive ethos and shift towards that last year. We've seen some excellent youth coaches come in. We've seen the likes of Chris Powell come in, ex-Charlton manager, who was part of Gareth Southgate's team at the Euros as well. He's highly respected at Tottenham. We've seen Ryan Mason continue to work with the team, Dean Rastrick, and Wayne Burnett. So it's a really compact, fluid team at Tottenham, dealing with the coaches and a group that the players really respect and look up to. So it was a great season last year, and we started this season relatively well. We started with a 2-2 draw with Chelsea. We absolutely battered Chelsea across the 90 minutes. We're hit with two sort of sucker punches by the highly impressive Harvey Bale. But on the whole, I was very impressed with the performance. We saw some real standout performances from the likes of Dylan Marcandy, who had scored 5 goals in pre-season, has continued to look very, very impressive. He's crying out for a loan, in my opinion. He could go to a League One club and wouldn't look out of place already, despite his young age. So hopefully that's something we can see this season, having impressed visiting scouts before the window shuts of EFL loans. Obviously, Janil Bennett, again, who's made his first team debut on Thursday and continues to impress. We saw Marcel Lavinia have a good game against his former employers. And also, just this whole playing without a false nine has allowed Alfie Devine to play in a more advanced position. That's quite exciting to see for his long-term development. So I'm looking forward to another exciting season for Tottenham in the PL2. But, as I'm sure you're going to tell us about, it will be a hard game at 4 parts against Leeds today. It's the first time we've played you in a competitive fixture, basically since the Battle of Hastings. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And I know Leeds stream their games on YouTube. So it's a good one for fans to look in and check how some of our younger players are doing.
Yeah, I watched that game against Chelsea last week. Really, really impressed. Like you say, absolutely battered them. I think the Chelsea commentator said that it's not often you would go 2-0 up in a game and be happy with a point. Obviously, Chelsea threw away that 2-goal lead. But I don't think from a Tottenham point of view, there's probably not many times you'd be 2-0 down, get a draw, and not be happy with a point. They definitely should have won the game. By far the better team. And literally just some names that you've just mentioned, Mark Ande, Janil Bennett, Lavinia and Alfie Devine, all the 4 players that I had out as sort of standout players to talk about today. Mark Ande, I've heard you say he's kind of beefed up a little bit, put a little bit of weight on, but he still looks really quick, really sharp. Thought him and Bennett really interchanged well. The movement from each other made each other a lot of space. I think, was it Bennett that slipped it through for Mark Ande's goal as well? It might have been someone else, but it involved either way. And then Bennett with a really good goal to equalise. Someone I've heard you talk about a lot on your podcast. The left-footed lad in midfield, is it Harvey White? He missed the penalty, didn't he?
He did miss a penalty. Yeah, he did miss a penalty, and that was slightly surprising, if I'm being honest with you. He's probably the best set-piece taker at Tottenham. He's got fantastic free kicks. I've seen him score shed loads over the years and penalties, actually, in academy games. He was on loan at Portsmouth last year, did really well, got a winning goal at Oxford, made about 19 appearances, and he only went on loan in the second half of the season from January. So Mourinho involved him in the Europa League in the group stages. So I was surprised he missed the penalty, but he had a real calm, composed, dictatorship-style role to the game where he knows what's happening and he'll set the pace and tempo for the others. He's very versatile. I've seen him play at centre-half, left-back, central attacking midfield, and also just a base central midfielder, a sort of number 6 or a number 8. So he's one to really keep an eye on. He's had lots of England youth involvement, call-ups. I know the coaching staff at Tottenham really rate him highly. I do expect he'll play today against Leeds, and Tottenham will be looking for him to be the sort of senior figure amongst it in the park, dictating the tempo for Tottenham moving forward. So he's a really exciting, lovely left-footed player.
Yeah, you say you expect him to play today. It's so hard to predict the team news. That's kind of why I wanted to do this more of a general chat, because it's so difficult to properly predict the lineups for today. You've got your Europa Conference game on Thursday. You've got another academy game on, is it Friday?
Friday.
We've got the AFL Cup tomorrow night, which I expect a lot of our young players to play in, and then we've got another youth game on Friday as well. We play Derby. But yeah, touching on Leeds' start, we beat Crystal Palace 3-1. Somerville, McCarran and McGurk with the goals. I know you've got a little bit of knowledge about Leeds. You say you're impressed by Drame, Gellert and McGurk. I think you both wanted, I think, from Wigan, didn't you, Tottenham? Managed to get Devine instead. But yeah, obviously we're flying high after last season's great season. Started really well. So yeah, it should make for a really, really good game. It's a good test for Leeds and a chance to really see where we're at, even though we might not have the full strength 23 squad out because of Tuesday's game. I think it's a really, really good chance for Leeds. I think the target is just to stay in the division. Obviously, we've just come up. We only turned Category 1 2 years ago, so a really good opportunity for us to just come in, solidify ourselves at PL2 level. I think anything around mid-table would be a really, really impressive finish. But if we can go head-to-head and really prove ourselves against some of the big boys like Tottenham, Chelsea, Man City, those games are going to be real tests. And it's just a good opportunity. So yeah, the first big test I think today against Tottenham. Crystal Palace came up with us last season, so we knew a bit about them, and we beat them. We beat them once last season, lost once. So we expected to get off to quite a good start. But yeah, like I said, a really big test today, and I'm really excited to watch the game. what is there anybody that stood out for you from Leeds from what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, I actually love a lot of the young players Leeds have got, and I was hopeful that Tottenham would get some of them. I mean, I really like Greenwood, the striker you picked up from Arsenal. Obviously, it would have been near impossible for us to have taken him from Arsenal
Yeah,
for obvious reasons, but I was just delighted that you got him out of Arsenal. So I was pleased you guys got him, and he's a phenomenal set-piece taker, as we spoke about before we started the show. His free kicks, he seems to score, 1 in 2, basically, is a goal.
yeah.
So that's something Tottenham will really have to watch out for if he does feature today. Where we're a little bit more fortunate in the team lineup than you is that obviously you played tomorrow. So it's very difficult for players to play today and then maybe feature in the EFL Cup tomorrow, whereas our game is on Thursday. It gives us a bit of respite. But what I must add is Tottenham will not want to play a complete under-18s team against Arsenal 23s on Friday and get hammered at home. It will not go down well with the club as a whole. So Tottenham have got to really carefully manage these 3 games this week to ensure they don't leave themselves too short in any of them. But I do expect a stronger Tottenham lineup today than we'd see on Friday, just because of the amount of time between today and Thursday's game.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a really good game. And I said, I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of Leeds players. As you mentioned, Tottenham heavily looked at the 2 lads you picked up from Wigan, McGurk and Geldhart. There was another lad called Jensen Weir who went to Brighton, who Tottenham also wanted, as well as Leeds. And we did manage to get Alfie Devine, who I know Leeds also wanted. So it seems that Wigan had a real crop of players. Wigan actually put us out for the FA Youth Cup the summer before all these players became available owing to their financial issues at the club. So they obviously impressed Tottenham then, and obviously Leeds probably had watching scouts as well. And they had a real good crop coming through, and you've managed to benefit with 2 of them. Jensen Weir went to Brighton, and we picked up Alfie Devine. So, and they're obviously all settling in straight away at 23s level, or Devine in our case has made his debut and become our youngest ever goal scorer for the first team. So that was obviously a really exciting crop. And yeah, I said I'm looking forward to seeing Leeds today. It's been a long time since we played you. 2, proper big traditional clubs. And I always think Leeds should have a really good academy, if I'm being honest with you, because I think they've got quite a clear catchment area in Leeds of, players they can pick up. Yes, you've got Bradford not too far away and a few other clubs, but there's so much bigger Leeds historically, support-wise. I went to university in Leeds, so I can tell you that absolutely every man and his dog in Leeds supports Leeds. It's a proper, one club city, one club town. So, for Leeds, I think they should always do really well, and I'm really pleased they're back in the Premier League and also Category 1 level. I think that's well deserved for the stature of the club, and hopefully they continue to invest and progress at academy level, because I think Leeds have got the potential, and down the years we've seen some unbelievable talents come through at Leeds. Obviously, Spurs paid £10 million for Jack Clarke. That's someone I wanted to talk to you about. It seems like, from a lot of Tottenham fans' point of view, we bought him on the back of these sub-appearances he effectively made for you, where he came on as a tricky winger, lively, lot of pace, direct, but we haven't really seen him settle in completely at Tottenham yet. He's obviously been out on a host of loans, the likes of QPR, Stoke City, and talk of him going out again this season at some point, or whether he'll stay around and play in the Europa Conference and maybe head out in January like he did last year. So I'd just like to get your thoughts on Jack Clarke. Obviously, he had a sort of really unlucky or dangerous injury. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it, which sort of halted his progress at Leeds, where he had to come off. I believe it was an away fixture. If you could just tell us a bit about Jack Clarke, that'd be really useful for Tottenham fans to hear.
Yeah, I mean, Clarke was really highly thought about Leeds from quite a young age. He was at the club, I think, from around like 9, 10. He'd been there for quite a long time. And yeah, grew, and it was kind of inevitable he would go on to play for the first team at some point. And then I don't think anybody really knows what happens. I think it was at Middlesbrough, if I remember right.
Yeah.
He kind of went off the bench, and I don't know if he sort of like passed out or fainted or collapsed, like something like that. I'm really not sure what it was. But I think it was always going to be difficult for him to settle at Spurs. Like I say, he's from Leeds. I think he's from York or Harrogate, around that way.
Yeah.
We've got quite a few lads that we've brought in from kind of York way. But yeah, I think it was always going to be difficult for him to settle at Spurs, having been at the club for such a long time, only ever been at Leeds, never had a loan spell away. It's going to be difficult to settle. I don't think he did much at QPR, did he? But then last season progressed a little bit more at Stoke, I believe.
Yeah.
Obviously Leeds fans hope he does well. We always like to keep kind of tabs on our academy players that might come through but then not quite make it, or come through and move on. As long as they leave in quite good circumstances, Leeds fans will always wish them well. Fabian Delph got a really, really good reception at Ellen Road on Saturday against Everton. We keep an eye out for Alex Mowat and Lewis Cook and players like that. So, it's a really proud aspect of the club is the academy. We're really proud of it. I think through some of the darker years down towards like League One and mediocrity in the Championship for quite a few years, players coming through like Byram, Cook, Mowat, Charlie Taylor, they're always sort of the pride of the club, and part of a real identity of the club is bringing through young players and homegrown players. Look at Calvin Phillips. No one in that Leeds team is loved more than Calvin Phillips, and that is just because he's a local lad who's always given his all for the club, and look what he's gone on to achieve with England and becoming this unbelievable player under Bielsa. So yeah, a real big part of the identity of the club, and something we're really proud of. And yeah, we obviously wish Jack Clarke all the best. I think you'll start seeing the best of him soon. Hopefully, like you say, whether he goes out on loan or stays and plays in the Conference League games, I think he'll definitely start to improve because there's so much ability there.
Talking of Jack Clarke, I remember when he was back on loan with you guys after he completed the permanent transfer. I was watching a lot of your games on YouTube just to see how he was getting on and to get an idea of what kind of player he was, basically. And I noticed that Bielsa played quite a few first-team players in under-23s games. Is that something he still does now? Or is it just to get fitness up, or is it to keep minutes in the legs and to keep people ready effectively so that if somebody does get an injury, we're not talking about someone that hasn't played for 6 weeks. We're talking about someone that's played 3 or 4 under-21s games and they're ready to slot in straight away. Is that how it works up at Leeds?
Absolutely. It's not just for the first team players that are not fit, but the 23s lads themselves coming through. We play the exact same system, the same intensity. There's quite a lot of interchange in training, even from the under-18s and the first team. They all train together a lot of the time. So, Bielsa implementing that philosophy since he came in has come all the way through the club. So yeah, anybody that plays in the 23s is going to be ready to slot into the first team. It really did Rodrigo well last year. He played in the PL2 and scored 2 against Wolves in the first half. Hernandez played, Phillips played, Robin Koch played. They all played in the 23s last season. So yeah, like you say, it just helps getting minutes in the legs, and for the young lads coming through, it's like a perfect transition into the first team then. But then for the first team players that need minutes, he's playing in the same system, the same intensity. So it's obviously always going to be beneficial.
I actually wish that Spurs did it a bit more, if I'm being honest with you. There's plenty of times where I know players need game time and they sort of do this train but don't play policy. They play around with the first team training Monday to Friday, but they just never get a look in on match day squads. I mean, we saw Ryan Sessegnon play against Chelsea, which was a total, it was very unexpected and it changed from what we'd seen previously. Maybe under Nuno, we'll see this a bit more. Obviously, a new manager at the club in the first team. So that was good to see, just 45 minutes, get those minutes in his legs, and then he was ready to start against Pacos on the Thursday. So, you never know. You may see some players today, but I think more in the case of Tottenham's players that would need minutes, it's more that maybe they don't want to get injured and affect a potential transfer out of the club, because I can expect a lot of activity in the last 8 days of the transfer window.
Yeah, see, that's the thing with us. Bielsa said that not much is going to happen. And kind of everybody that's been on the way out, Huggins didn't really play in pre-season, and other lads that have left, they haven't really had a part to play in pre-season because they knew they were leaving. Whereas everybody that's been involved at Leeds, we had a couple of difficult pre-season games, but a couple of really impressive performances. The under-23s played a couple of senior teams, so we played Guiseley, who were a local team, we played Fleetwood, but then we played Ajax's academy, and that was really tough and maybe a bit of an awakener, I think. They were unbelievable, were Ajax. And then we finished pre-season with a 4-0 win against Man City. So, some impressive results there and some good performances. But everybody that was at the club and in the plans, they all featured in pre-season. So hopefully that continuity should progress into the season, and there should be a really stable team.
As you said about the Ajax game actually being a sort of eye-opener for you guys, as you've become Category 1, you'll notice that you get invited to more and more of these international tournaments. And, I love watching Spurs at these international tournaments. You can always watch younger age groups that maybe aren't on the pathway yet and you wouldn't get an opportunity to see normally, and get to spot players coming through way before you would in normal circumstances. And, Spurs play in tournaments in South Korea, in Russia, in America. So we travel all around the world, Mexico, playing in many tournaments, and you get to see some really different styles. When they come up against South American sides or Mexican sides, they play a totally different brand of football, and it's interesting to see how your players cope with that. It's very different from the standards of the PL2 or the under-18s league in England. So that's exciting for Leeds fans. Something to look out for is you will certainly be invited, and obviously once COVID eases down a bit as well, you'll see more opportunities for international tournaments and games like you had against Ajax.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll go back onto today's game anyway. So I've got Spurs down as a 4-3-3. And you really do like to dominate the ball. You've got some quick forward players, but you really do like to dominate the ball. I'm not sure there's actually any websites out there that do sort of match stats for the under-23s games. But I watched that Chelsea game, and Spurs must have had 70% possession upwards. Plenty of shots, plenty of chances. Like we've said, deserve to win the game. One player that we haven't spoke about is Matthew Craig. So he's the number 5, and he plays as like the holding midfielder. And he really gets on the ball a lot, getting the ball off the defenders, playing those sort of big switch plays out to the wingers or the fullbacks, similar to what Calvin does at Leeds. So yeah, I got that right basically. 4-3-3, dominate the ball, and maybe you want to touch on Craig, who is kind of I thought was a bit of a key player against Chelsea.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been outstanding, and he's come through. He's one of 2 identical brothers. You've got Matthew and Michael Craig. They were named on the bench for the first team against Pacos, and they were the first identical brothers named on a bench in our history, basically. So that was quite an impressive feat. They come from Barnet, which is in North London. They went to Dame Aliso in school, and it's so funny to have 2 players that look identical and they're also very similar in their style of play. They're both central midfielders, where one is more defensive-minded, and they both played for Scotland at youth level. They've had call-ups there. And it'll be great to see, they were sort of formed the bedrock of the under-18s last year in central midfield, with the 2 of them patrolling around, and they sort of have moved up together to the 23s. So more and more, I think that'll become a partnership that we see, especially with Niall John moving up to training with the senior squad. Otherwise, he would be in there instead of probably Michael Craig. But so at the moment, we're seeing Matthew and Michael both getting a lot of game time, and I expect both will feature today against Leeds. And I think that's something exciting for Tottenham fans to look out for, the development of the 2 Barnet-born lads, because, they've obviously got a great understanding with each other. They've been at the club since they were, I think Matthew's been the whole time through, and Michael was actually at Arsenal and moved over at under-12s level. So, it's exciting for Tottenham to see yet another crop of young players coming through. And the fact they're on the first team bench shows that Nuno and Ryan Mason and Dean Rastrick at Tottenham obviously rate these guys highly. And hopefully there'll be more opportunities coming. I mean, if we can get through the Europa League game, which I think the Europa Conference game, which I think we will, then there'll be further opportunities down the line this season for those guys to get involved and get some first team minutes. Then talking about our formation today, as you said, yes, it is a 4-3-3. That formation calls on itself because of our lack of a forward at that level. We can basically play with a false 9. It will be Alfie Devine swapping. Maybe Romain Mandale will also come into the side today. And then you've got the 2 natural wingers that hug the touchline in Janil Bennett from the left and Dylan Marcandi from the right. And then you'll have the Craig brothers sitting deep in midfield, maybe with Romain Mandale, as I said. And then at the back, you're likely to have Brooklyn's Lyons Foster, who was on the first team bench last week. You may have Toby Amole. He wasn't on the first team bench last week because he's over 21. He'd have to be registered as a senior player. And also, because he hasn't been at the club for 2 years, he'd have to go on the list A for UEFA requirements. That may be why he wasn't in. But I expect he may play today with the 23s. You're likely to have Marcel Lavinia at right back. And at left back, you may have Callum Cisse, who featured heavily for the first team in pre-season. Or you could have Maxim Paskotsky, who joined the club last October and has made rapid progress. I mean, I can't think of anyone else who's progressed so quick. He joined as a 16, 17-year-old. He's gone on to become a full Estonia international. He's got 5 caps to his name already. Baltic Cup winner with Estonia. Already made his first team debut on Thursday. I mean, the rise from coming in as an under-18s player. He scored 5 league goals. The guy's a centre-half. It's just insane. And that three of the 5 were like these massive volleys from the edge of the box. It's a really unusual character trait for a centre-half. It's really fun to watch him actually develop. And then in goal, we'll have Josh Olawayemi. Now, Josh is really interesting. He got a call-up to the Nigeria senior squad, despite never making a senior first-team appearance. He had a loan at Maidenhead, but was mostly used as a backup. But got a call-up owing to some COVID issues in the Nigeria squad. And that would have been great for his confidence, So hopefully he can continue to develop. We've obviously loaned out Alfie Whiteman, and it's seen Brandon Austin come back from the MLS. He's now the 3rd choice of the club. So, I'm expecting a 4-3-3 again today. And standout players to watch out for, as always, will be Alfie Devine for me. I just think he's such an amazing talent and a real coup that we managed to get hold of him. And I expect he'll continue to develop at Tottenham. And obviously, watch out. Do not let Janelle Bennett cut in from the left and shoot.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
he'll always do it. It bends like that into that far corner. He loves it. 3-4 times a game. One is going in if he gets those chances. So you've got to prevent that from Leeds' point of view today. Will he be up against Cody Drama?
Yeah, it's so hard to predict. Cody might just play 45 minutes because I'd be surprised if he's not involved tomorrow. He looks a class above at PL2 level, I'll be honest. Physically very good, very quick, very strong. A brilliant 1v1 defender. Rarely gets beat 1v1. So, if he does play, it'll be a really good battle because, Bennett's direct. He wants to get at his man. He wants to get shots off. So, for Drama to play against somebody like that, it would be really, really interesting. But yeah, I'm not sure how long he'll play, if he'll play at all. The game today and the subs, Leeds always pre-plan their subs. That's one thing I don't know if you know.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
so
Leeds
it's not
always
dependent on the game at all.
No,
so
always pre-planned to accommodate certain first team players to get minutes, or even just within the 23s players.
There's no sort of in-game, reaction.
It's interesting, yeah. So
this is
not
what
really any of that.
This is how we're doing it. I've never known that before. That's really interesting.
Yeah, no, I've really not known it, but it is interesting, and it's kind of just like you said about Tottenham not caring about results. Obviously, winning games is important.
Yeah,
important in a player's development. You got to develop that winning mentality, and they're all professionals. They all train every day to go and win games.
Yeah.
But like you say about player development, learning the system, getting to that level of fitness that we demand so highly at Leeds. Yeah, not so much substitutes. Not so many substitutes are decided on the basis of the game. It's always pre-planned. So yeah, I think the subs today or the lineup today will give away basically who's going to be involved tomorrow night. For me, I'd like to see Gellart, I'd like to see Drame, and I'd like to see Somerville. I think Somerville absolutely has to play. For me, on Tuesday, this is Tuesday, I expect Somerville to play. Pushing on the first team door now. Poveda, not really sure what's happened with him, but Costa's not really got going in the Premier League. Somerville, young, raw, and I would have him honestly below only Rafinha and Harrison in terms of wingers at the club. So I'd love to see Somerville tomorrow night. And, Gellart, I think as well, he's ready for that step up. He's another one that just looks too good for PL2 level. Drame as well. So yeah, at least those three I'd love to see involved on Tuesday night, because then we've got sort of first team players that need to play. Robin Koch, I think, will probably be coming back from injury. Forshaw needs minutes after his long spell out. And then you've got like Costa, Tyler Roberts, Shackleton, sort of fringe players that are, on the way to making a first team spot theirs, but not quite done it yet. So I think they'll all play on Tuesday night. But like I said, the lineup today against Tottenham will probably give away who's going to play tomorrow night. But, Drame, purely for that battle against Bennett, I would absolutely love to see Drame play at least 45 today against Tottenham.
Yeah, one player you referenced there, I would also really enjoy seeing that battle actually between their two styles, and how that would go. But one player you mentioned there that I've always loved watching him at youth level, I saw him, came through at Brentford, he then went up to Man City, is Ian Carlo Poveda. Now, when you got him, I thought, wow, that's a real coup, because I'd seen him run games against us at under-18s level, right, for Man City. I mean, totally dictate, dominate games, and I thought this geezer is mustard. He's going right to the top. I was hugely impressed. He seems to have plateaued a little bit now, and I'm waiting for the next step. But is there some sort of issues behind the scenes with settling in, or is he just had injuries, or could you tell me a bit about that?
I think he had a bit of a Bamford referenced this on the official Leeds podcast about Poveda when he first joined the club being late to training and things like that. But as far as I know, that all got rectified. He seemed to enjoy his summer. He went over to Jamaica and seemed to enjoy partying over there this summer, which some fans didn't like. But he's a young lad. He's entitled to enjoy his holidays. Just not really got going in this season yet. I wouldn't like to say he's completely out of the thoughts, but I spoke about this last week on a different podcast, and it's not really in the club's DNA to just discard a young player. But yeah, I'm not sure if something's gone on there. Don't like to speculate too much, but we'll see if he's involved this week. But yeah, he hasn't played since the Ajax game. He hasn't been on the first team bench. He didn't feature for the 23s last season, so there's been no injury reported. So whether he's going out on loan or we don't know.
That's what I was going to say. It could be that, as you said earlier, that when players haven't really been involved, it's because the club have known maybe they're moving out, maybe there is going to be a loan move. I mean, he's too good a talent to just discard, as you said. So a loan move would be sensible for me. You know, could he go back on loan? Maybe go back to London for a little bit to a club. You know, a QPR, a Millwall, something like, maybe not Millwall because of the Leeds Millwall rivalry, but you know, QPR, Charlton, someone like that.
No, Brentford as well. You know, he's played in the Premier League last season, and he came on against Man City at home. We drew 1-1. I think that was his first Premier League game. He came off the bench and he was unbelievable. He tore Benjamin Mendy apart, and you know, I think Mendy has. Some people love Mendy, some people don't rate him so much. I think defensively he could improve, but Poveda, as a young lad, came off the bench against Man City, his former club. I don't know if that played a part for him mentally, you know, wanting to prove a point against the club that had let him go, but absolutely tore Benjamin Mendy apart. And you know, Leeds fans were really excited about him, but he just hasn't really kicked on. He's a bit hesitant with his final product. Like, he'll beat a man. He's got such good feet. He's quick. He's direct. He'll always beat his man, and then just take too long to get a crossing or get a shot off. Like, it's decision making, I think, with him. It's just something missing. Hopefully, there's no big issue going on at the club. There hasn't been a fallout. Hopefully, you know, he's still in the plans and he can go out on loan and really get that confidence back and work on his game and then come back, because, you know, a really talented player, like you say. But for me, I think at the minute, Somerville is above him. You'll see, hopefully today, if he plays, how good Somerville is. Too good for PL2 level. Too good for that.
Yeah, I don't really know him as a player, actually, so I'm quite looking forward to watching him after hearing you talk about him this morning. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. And the game's on YouTube, as you said earlier. So, you know, I'll be actively encouraging Spurs fans, sneaky lunch break when working from home, get the game on. Happy days.
Yeah, 4 o'clock kickoff, which is a strange kickoff time. Do they always kick off in? Obviously, we've just come up to the Division 1. Is 4 o'clock on a Monday a normal kickoff? I don't think I've ever seen
4 o'clock on a Monday before. I mean, normally with Spurs, the home matches, or you know, a lot of the matches are 12 o'clock. Or if they're not at 12 o'clock, they're at 7:30 in the evening. So I can only presume Spurs have asked for the additional time on the basis that they're away yesterday at Wolves. They would have had some young players on the bench there. Or even if they weren't in the matchday squad, you always take a couple of extra ones. There's normally the 19th and 20th man. And, you know, they're probably getting the coach up to Leeds this morning. So they probably just allowed a couple of extra hours for those, you know.
Possibly.
Basically. So I imagine that's the case on this scenario. Tottenham's first team, whenever they used to go up to Leeds, used to stay at the Malmaison Hotel, which is a very fancy hotel in town. But obviously, I imagine with 23s, they'll just go up on the coach. This morning, there won't be those luxuries.
No, probably not.
Where is Fort Arch located, actually? You know, I've never been to one of the few grounds I've not been to. So
it's at least half an hour away from Leeds. It's in Wetherby. So quite a nice place. A lot of
very nice area. Yeah,
it is a nice area, and a lot of the players that come to Leeds live there. So, you know, it's a good place to have the training ground. Really, I think ideally there were plans discussed to have the training ground right next to Ellen Road. You know, I've seen those plans discussed. I think Radrizzani wanted to implement that. Don't know if that's on hold because of COVID or what, but you know, I think that'd be a really, really good move for the club, because there's a lot of interest in the academy now. People want to go and watch these games. We had, at some points last season, there'd be almost 20,000 people watching the games on YouTube and Twitter, which is ridiculous. So, you know, if you could get those games down to Thorpe Arch, and if that was closer to Leeds, then, you know, there'd be some serious money to be made for the club. Like, people would buy tickets to go and watch them. I've got a note here of your attendance last week at Chelsea, 766. That was at Stevenage. So, you know, another club obviously with big interest in the academy.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not massive on the games being played at Stevenage. It's quite out of the way, actually, from where Tottenham is and the training ground of Tottenham in Enfield. There's a local club called Enfield Town FC that is literally a 5-minute walk from the training ground, that has a decent capacity stadium that would be more in need of the money than Stevenage. And we play them in a friendly every year, and I've sat next to their chairman, basically, and I've had a chat with him about it, and he'd be more than amenable for it, you know. So to me, it seems crazy that we drag the team up to Stevenage all the time to play these games. So I hope in the future maybe they will look to do something more of Enfield Town, and the yearly friendlies with the club maybe leads to something pointing that way. But I know for this year, certainly they've renewed the fixtures at Stevenage.
Yeah, well, Leeds are going to play some games at York City's new stadium, so the LNER Stadium. Leeds are gonna play some games there, and then we've got some games at Ellen Road as well. So
I think there's
fans are going to get to watch them.
There is a requirement to play 3 matches per season, which you can select at your home stadium. So who are your 3 against, if you know, just off the top of your head?
I think it's Arsenal, Man United and Liverpool, just off the top of my head.
Big names, basically.
That's just off the top of my head. That might be wrong, but I think it's those 3. We play Derby next week. That's at the Loughborough University Stadium. Leeds played there in pre-season.
Yeah.
So, it's good. It's good that people are going to go get to watch them because, like I said, big interest in the academy from a Leeds point of view, just because of like I said before about the identity of the club and it being a big part of it, and then obviously the success as well, and the fact that first team players play. There's so many reasons to want to watch the academy. There's the next big thing. There's watching the first teamers get minutes, and then there's the actual success of winning the title last year and now playing against the real big boys in the top division. So. Yeah, hopefully a lot more fans can get down and watch it today, and hopefully a lot of fans appreciate this video, sort of getting an insight onto Tottenham.
Yeah, no, it should be a good game and hopefully a start of many good games we have with you over the coming years. As I said, you're now up to Category 1 status, you're now in the top league. So, as I said, I expect Leeds to continue to develop. I think they've got such a catchment area of potential players they can be bringing in and not have mass competition for. And Leeds is a huge area, and there's loads of opportunities for young players and everyone supports Leeds that want to sign for Leeds and want to go through the academy at Leeds. So hopefully continue to grow as a club and as an academy. I'm really looking forward to watching it develop.
Yeah, hopefully that starts with a big win against Tottenham today. But thanks for joining me, mate. A really good chat. Good to get your insight on Tottenham. Obviously, your stuff and you've got a big following yourself. So do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at Lily White Rose. We cover all Tottenham 23s, under 18s games, and also some sort of exclusive news and international call-ups for young players. We've now started our podcast as well. We're on episode 6 of that. They're about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. There just isn't a market for another hour-long Tottenham podcast. The market's very full already with those sort of podcasts. I'm part of one myself, The Last Word on Spurs, which is probably the biggest Tottenham podcast. But I really wanted to let people know more about the youth and what's going on at the club. And people have been really interested in this. I mean, we're only on episode 6, but I'm getting, 2,500 listeners an episode, which is phenomenal. It's come from nothing, just me tweeting out the link, and people seem really keen on it. So I'm going to continue doing those throughout this season. And then maybe I'll look, if people want me to, into moving on to YouTube and those sort of platforms as well, where we can add some more tactical analysis and video graphs and sort of formations and styles and possessions of play and that sort of stuff, because I don't think there is anything like that out there for Tottenham at youth level. So it's something I'm very passionate about and something I want to continue alongside my day job as well. So yeah, absolute pleasure being on. Please, let's do this again when you have the return fixture at Hotspur Way, and hopefully it's a good game today.
Yeah, top man. Well, thanks so much for your time. And obviously, anybody listening that doesn't already follow John and at Lily White Rose, make sure you go and check him out. Good man, he knows his stuff. So yeah, thanks for being so complimentary about Leeds. Thanks for giving us an insight on Tottenham. And like you say, we'll definitely do this again when we play at Hotspur Way. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Go check out John. Yeah, thanks for your time, mate.
Absolute pleasure, mate. See you soon. Thanks a lot.
See you soon.